In the spring of 1983, movie theaters weren't just showing films, they were holding cultural flashpoints. For 6 years, the galaxy far, far away had consumed the global imagination. Fans had lined up around city blocks, memorized trading cards, and debated the fate of a farm boy and a masked tyrant. And then came the finale. Before the redemption of Anakin Skywalker could hit the big screen, the production team had to face a very terrestrial enemy: price gouging. In 1982, when the crew descended on locations in Yuma, Arizona, to film the sweeping desert scenes of Tatooine, they knew that the sheer demand of the Star Wars brand would cause local vendors, hotelers, and equipment suppliers to triple their prices overnight. The solution? A massive deception. Lucasfilm printed crew t-shirts, caps, and call sheets bearing a fake horror film logo, Blue Harvest, horror beyond imagination. Security guards wore patches with a terrifying, sickle-welded scarecrow. To the outside world, they weren't making the most anticipated sci-fi sequel in history. They were shooting a low-budget independent horror flick. It worked brilliantly, allowing the production to slip in, capture Jabba's desert bard sequences, and slip out before the rest of the world caught on. Behind the camera, the making of Episode 6 was a masterclass in collaborative navigation. George Lucas had originally approached several visionary directors to helm the trilogy's conclusion, including Steven Spielberg and David Lynch. Spielberg was eager, but guild politics and his commitment to other projects got in the way. Lynch famously passed, telling Lucas he wanted to carve his own cinematic path. Ultimately, the helm went to British director Richard Marquand. Marquand stepped into a remarkably high-pressure environment. While he brought a theatrical sensitivity and a brilliant eye for actor performances, particularly in the tense, emotional exchanges between Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, and a returning Alec Guinness, the shadow of George Lucas loomed large. Lucas was heavily involved in second unit direction, storyboarding, and editorial decisions. The result was a unique directorial dance, a film guided by Marquand's collaborative, empathetic touch, built upon the bedrock of Lucas's uncompromising myth-making. When we finally reached the climax inside the Emperor's throne room on the second Death Star, Return of the Jedi subverts everything we expect from an action blockbuster. For 2 films, we watched Luke Skywalker train under Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi, absorbing the dogmatic, aesthetic traditions of an ancient order. They told him that to save the galaxy, he had to become a detached warrior, ready to cut down his own father without hesitation. But in the ultimate test of his faith, Luke looks at the mechanical monster before him, tosses his weapon aside, and chooses a different path entirely. He doesn't win the day through lethal force or tactical supremacy. He wins through radical, uncompromising empathy by declaring, I am a Jedi, like my father before me. Luke rejects the cold vengeance of the old galactic order. He proves that the true power of the Force isn't about striking down what you hate, it's about saving what you love. That choice shatters the armor of the galaxy's most terrifying villain. When we first met Darth Vader in 1977, he was pure, cinematic nightmare fuel, a cold, mechanical enforcer devoid of warmth or remorse. Through successive chapters, we learned of the tragedy of Anakin Skywalker, a brilliant, conflicted soul seduced by the promise of control. By the time Vader looks down at the lightning-fueled agony of his son, the mask begins to crack. Not just from Emperor Palpatine's dark energy, but from the quiet weight of grace. His final act isn't a grand military strategy, it's a deeply intimate, desperate rescue. In lifting the Emperor and casting him into the reactor shaft, Anakin steps out of the shadows. He sheds the mechanical monster of his past and claims the ultimate quiet redemption of a father saving his son. When the credits finally rolled on May 25th, 1983, the emotional weight in theaters was palpable. Today, we live in an era of endless cinematic universes, infinite sequels, and perpetual franchise expansions. But in 1983, Return of the Jedi carried a profound finality. For millions of moviegoers, this wasn't just another installment, it was the definitive end of a journey that had defined their childhoods. As the Ewok celebration song echoed out over the forest moon of Endor, and the luminous ghosts of Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Anakin looked on, audiences walked out into the summer sunlight with a bittersweet sense of closure. The galaxy had been saved, the heroes had found peace, and for a generation of fans, the campfire songs of the Endor jubilation would forever mark the closing chapter of a golden age of cinema. Decades later, the Star Wars saga continues to expand, branching into new timelines, streaming series, and new generations of heroes. But the heart of the galaxy remains forever anchored in that forest clearing on Endor. Return of the Jedi wasn't just the conclusion to a groundbreaking trilogy, it was a testament to the enduring power of cinematic mythmaking. It proved that even an epic space opera filled with colossal starships, terrifying Sith Lords, and galaxy shaking battles, the ultimate victory belongs to love, forgiveness, and the quiet choice to see the good in others. As the starship engines fade and the starlight dims, the legacy of Episode 6 stands firm, a timeless reminder that no matter how deep the shadow, the light will always find its way back.